Okay, this video is about my Emacs init file and specifically how I structure it. So I'm gonna start a terminal. Let me make that bigger. And then I'll move my private things to, yeah. And let me start up first in terminal, just to see how that looks. Yeah, and if you see that everything works fine here, normally. But there are some things that are not as nice as the graphical version, so I'll switch to the graphical version. Here we have the graphical version. Let me make a new and then maybe go here. And the first thing I'm gonna talk about is my early init. And early init is about speeding up the startup at the cost of using more memory. That's this portion here. And then the other thing is it's about disabling defaults I don't want to see. So even though the frame title up here is something, then temporarily I set it to something else because I don't want to see the default. So that's the two functions of my early init. And then I have my init. And as you see, I start up. I'll just give an overview of what's in my init. It's first a headline, then faces is where I do my fonts and themes. The mode line, which is what you see down here, is the next thing. The native stuff is all the variables that Emacs recognize without any packages installed. So there's a lot of variables I set here. That's just setting up the environment. Then Package.el, that's the package manager I use. It's the original one or an old one. There are newer alternatives, and I'll talk about that. Evil.el, Org.el are two big packages that require a lot of configuration, so I've kind of taken them separately. And then custom functions, that's where I make some small functions I use. Keybindings, that's where I define my keybindings, and leader key, that's where I define my leader key. So let me here. So faces, you can see fonts, theme. Then I have a lot of regular expressions here. It's actually, yeah, but those regular expressions make the coloring a tiny bit different. So all my numbers and my true and nil are this color, and what I really like is my logical functions or Boolean functions. They have a different color than normal functions. So all these Boolean functions are specially colored, and I have a bunch of other things I set up, so I get it colored like I like it colored. After that I do my mode line, and my mode line I'm not gonna talk a lot. You can see here is like the state, and if evil mode is disabled, it will show an E. and I have some custom things I define, and you can go through it yourself if you think that's interesting. I don't use a package for the mode line. I simply code it myself. And then the native stuff was all these variables, and I'm not gonna talk about each and every one of them, but the iSearch, I really like this. So if I go search LA, then you can see that's number 26 out of 94 instances of LA. And if I put a C here, then there's only these two instances of LAC. So I like this, and I can do all sorts of, I can make it case sensitive, I can make it to a regular expression, and I can choose to, now I want to replace. I really like the Emacs search system, so I don't use the Evil search system because this is so much nicer. I like the dialogue way of interacting with search, where the evil way is more like you know what to do and then you do it. It's not like you discover something and then you change it. The next thing is display buffer a list. If I go into and see a help thing about this, then it changed focus to this help thing. I'm not gonna go into all this. I really like this. This is what I use to give this visual line numbers rather than relative line numbers. And this is then relative line numbers again, you can see. And we'll see an example of relative line numbers later. I don't know how to do it without this hook, which is obsolete, but even though it's obsolete, it's still usable. Then I have some minor modes, global minor modes that are recognized by stock Emacs or are native in Emacs. Then Package.el comes, and here we see the multi-line. This line only have one line number, even though it spans across multiple lines, and I like it like that. But when I fold things, then I use visual lines, and I install all these packages. This is the packages, and I install them here. And then I configure all the small quality of life things I've installed, and they go into this Elpa directory. Yeah, I like to have them all installed, and I try to keep some structure to this, but the main thing is it's not mixed up with the other things. So I like that. Then I have Evil, which is special because it requires a bit more configuring. And there it has some of the other things also have sub packages or whatever you want to call them. I like the cursor color to change when I change state, evil state. I think in Vim they call it mode. Then I have this, which is what gives this n down here, because it's normal state right now. Yeah, that's not. Then I have add-ons, and yeah, I use some add-ons as packages in Vim that enable stuff, and usually there's a package in Emacs too that does the same thing for Evil. So I have evil numbers here, so if I go and go E plus, E minus, then it will increment and decrement the number, or decrease the number. Then I have this, and this is a package I maintain myself and have done some work on. I'm not gonna go into what it does more precisely here because I have other videos that does that. But yeah, I really like this package, which is obvious because I maintain it. Now, as you see, I use a global highlight line. But if I go into visual state, now visual state, then it disables this highlight line. And if I go to the end of the word, it uses the background color of the highlight line as the region color. So I disable the global highlight line mode when I enter visual state. The same if I want to yank this operator word, then why it disable the highlight line. Here it's more like an alert that it disables the highlight line when I enter operator state. And then if I go here, now I copied operator and let me see, it should be here. Yeah, operator is here as in the kill ring. I really like this way where I disable, and if I, for example, want to change this insert, then I press change, it goes into operator state, and E for end, and now it's in insert mode. And insert mode, it changes the line numbers to absolute line numbers because now I don't I don't use H, J, or J and K in this mode because, well, H and J is entering text. So I don't need the relative line numbers, and I just change it. Also a bit of an alert that I'm in insert mode. And you see the color of the cursor changing. And you see they also changed in all the, so if I go into replace state, it's like that, and if I go into Emacs state, it's like that. Yeah, I really like that. Then I have some white space cleanup. Now I get to Org. Org is a package that I configure even more than Evil. So first, I ensure that I have org capture and org refile targets. Usually these files exist, but as you saw, I removed them at the beginning of this video. So in this case, it has made like a default structure with which I can refile to, and there's a tiny bit of structure to the different files. So if I refile something, I can refile it to event or to task and so on. I really like this, and it's a strong preference of me. I only use 4 keywords: next, to do, hold, and done. To active, next, and to do. To do is just to do. Next is short action. It's usually I use it for when I need to schedule stuff and so on. When I need to refile stuff to the correct place and so on. Then it's the next action if I haven't scheduled it yet. and then it becomes a to-do action and enter my task management system there. Hold is third party action, and I also use that for cancel. A simple change to hold and archive stuff, then it's cancelled. But else it's usually pending third party action. I'm not gonna talk more about all of this, but yeah. Then we get to the agenda, and I'm not gonna. It's also a bunch of configuration of agenda. Maybe just notice this where I replace these long words scheduled and deadline with icons, or with icons. Then I have my custom agenda commands, and this is where I make this agenda where I have this no timestamp or on hold headline for to-do actions that are not in my agenda yet. And they don't have timestamp, so agenda is a system to suppress timestamped events. So if you have something you need to do in a month, then you don't see it. It's a system where you can suppress information you don't need to, so it doesn't clutter up the information you need to focus on. And let me just make a test here. You might want to, but then it makes this next item here, and it makes it in inbox, which is usually an empty file, because that's kind of inbox. And if I go to do item, you can see how this, and we'll see that in the init file, how I align stuff there. I kind of I make this. Then I have my capture, and you already saw how it captures. Actually, it was this one down here, next from capture, and all these align nicely, and if I state change it, it also aligns nicely. The primary capture is the C for category, that's projects, and I for idea. I can capture directly into an event or task, but I never use that. I just capture the headline with this, and then I refile and schedule stuff later. I have some add-ons here too, like I had in Evil, and this percent is work in progress because I don't use percent, so it's kind of just for fun that I've set it up. Here we see this is an org document. I actually use the same icons instead of looking at long words. I really like that. Here I update all the cookies. That is, cookies are cookies. Each time I do a change of any to-do state, and here I ensure that I enter an insert state if it's kind of what I want to do. Then I have some custom functions, and these are very short functions. Here I have this function where I create this Midnight or Norton Commander like system. Dired is quite a bit more powerful, but it's nice to to have two windows in Diet because you can set it up so it can use where the other window is pointing. Then I have 3 functions for opening special files. That's what I use here. You'll see here leader maps, early init and init. That was because early init is number 2. I can switch back and forth between those. And if we'll see later, I have a 4 window setup. Now early init shows up here, and now I can, when I switch back and forth, it takes my my leader maps file and switch back and forth with that. Then I have my theme files, and this is just how I capture by default. That was this idea capture, and and this is my custom agenda. This is the 4 window setup that I just made. I usually work in 1 window, but if I need, I can make these 4 windows. I have Ace window swap that makes me able to swap windows in this. When I have multiple windows open, I can also use it very much with this earlier thing I showed with Diet, where I swap the 2 windows very often. Then I have this. This is a nice thing. Prod set he had from someone else, but I have it from Prod. There's this toggle maximize window, and then I maximized the window I was in now, and then maybe I go somewhere else, but then if I toggle maximize window here, then it remembers what the window configuration was when I maximized last time. I really like that. Then I have my faces. You saw very briefly that I switched faces in the beginning. I can go and yeah. Then I have magic states and commit. This is a short, dirty way to commit and state in one command with outside of magic. It still works as a usual commit when in magic, but this both states everything and commits everything with the message that I set in. It's nice. And then I have this save file. Keybindings, I'm not going to talk a lot about them. I can tell you that some of the keybindings I have down here in and that's when I need something to both depend on the evil mode state and a map, a key map. Then I have my leader key, and leader key was this. Here I have some key maps, and here I set up so that space, when I press that, it comes up with this menu down here with which key options, and I really like that. So I can do whatever. If I want to, let's transpose it. Transpose is kind of mirror the window setup along the diagonal. So if I transpose it, it goes like this, and if I transpose it again, it goes back. Yeah, I have different. I can also rotate, and You saw that I used direct tab and close tab earlier to show and swap. All the key bindings I use, I have all the custom key binding I use is down here. Not true, but most of the custom key bindings. If I want to go, let's go eval, then I can go to, I can jump there. That's just one key press and so on. And I just finish up by starting up my agenda when I open Emacs. So this is how my init file is structured. Basis, mode line, native stuff, all the package. That's where all my quality of life small packages is. Then I have the two big packages, Evil and Org. And then I have some custom functions here, and some key bindings and the leader key, and then startup. I really like to just have this very simple structure, because I find stuff in my init file relatively easy this way. So I know that if I install a package, it's down here and in this section, and I like it that way. But anyways, that's kind of what I wanted to show. So I'm gonna stop here.